Who is the enemy? Fellow freedom fighters, the enemy is imperialism.
House in order, that is the CPP. We need to reform. We need to revitalize the party. We need fresh faces and a completely different approach to party organization and mobilization. That is why I'm putting myself forward as the chair of the CPP. And number two, the other urgent thing we must do is we must bring together the Nkrumah family and go to 2012 elections as one unified Nkrumah party, or at the very least under a comprehensive alliance where we don't field competing candidates with the PNC.
You talk of reform, revitalizing a new approach. Let's start with a reform. What sort of reforms do you have in mind?
We need to go back to our core principle as a party of connecting very closely with our activists in branches, at the constituency level and regional level. We need to be in constant communication and cooperation with them. And number two, we need credible, transparent leadership, and we need to practice transparency and accountability within our party. As we speak, our finances are not transparent, and it is difficult for us to attract support because of that. Our members who pay dues, our supporters who want to contribute need to know what happens to their monies. They need to see physical evidence of their contribution, and we will do this. This will be one of the things we will do immediately after Congress. We have to lead the country in transparency and accountability. That is what our people are crying for, and we have to live up to those expectations.
And when you talk of revitalize, okay, go ahead before I come to this revitalizing.
Yes, number three, we need to clarify our strong message for national economic independence. This is what the CPP was all about. That is why we fought for political independence, to begin to restructure our economy and lay down a long-term development plan where we will link industrialization to service and technology, where we link industrialization, education rather, to industrialization and services, where we will gain our control over our economy and our resources, and start finding solutions born from us, by us, that are suitable to our specific culture and environment.
Homegrown solutions to our own challenges. When you talk of revitalizing the CPP, many thought that the CPP was very well revitalized ahead of election 2008. The CPP looked like an exciting party ahead of election 2008.
In the media and on paper, but not on the ground. Those of us who were fighting on the ground, those of us who were campaigning knew better. And I know from my own constituency of Jomoro, I know all the hard work we had to do to make the CPP appealing there. So in fact, I am very experienced in winning votes after that, our experience and success in Jomoro, where the people have shown that sincerity pays, organization pays, hard work pays, and we want to replicate that across the country in the different constituencies.
What's the new approach to politics that you also refer to? You say reform, revitalize, and bring about a new approach. Educate me on this new approach.
Yes, no, the new approach is based on being armed with your vision, but in also being very sincere. We need politicians who will sacrifice, who are prepared to devote their whole lives to doing that. I am not running any other business. I'm not concerned with anything else except the revival of our tradition. So we need that attitude, and we also need to draw away from negative campaigning and focus on the issues. We need that new approach to politics. We need to rise above the pettiness and not be concerned with personalities and maligning each other, but just focus on the work on the ground. We want to bring all this into our politics today and raise the level of political culture in our country, beginning with our own parties, of course.
Let's talk about your constituency. Let me begin from your constituency. You've been Member of Parliament for, what, 2 years?
Yes, 2
and some months.
Indeed.
Apart from, enacting legislation in Parliament, in your constituency, what have you been up to?
Indeed, quite a lot, because as you know, we are practicing multi-party democracy in a particular environment where most of the people who voted for us do not enjoy the basic social needs, like clean drinking water, adequate sanitation, affordable and quality education, access to basic health. So indeed, most of our work involves trying to satisfy those small needs, and that's like a drop of water in the ocean. But some of us still feel it's our responsibility to do so. So immediately after the elections, I set about to raise funds to do small projects, from mechanized boreholes to repairing schools to rehabilitating clinics across the districts, and we've touched about 80% of the communities. I also know that what we need most in Ghana and in our districts is to invest in human resources. So I lobbied for a very important project, a project that is very dear to my heart.
Which project is that?
And that is the rehabilitation of a defunct vocational and technical training center in the districts. And I'm very happy to say that, of course, due to the precious legacy of our father, the government of India has approved a $1 million grant to rehabilitate and expand it. And we are now discussing the steps towards the MOU. But this project would change the district, and even people from outside will come and study there. And it's also very much in line, or it's suitable to the growing economic activity that will emerge as a result of the oil and gas findings. After all, as you know, the first natural gas processing plant will be located in Jomoro, because that is the spot closest to the oil fields. So there is a lot we
So on the ground you are doing a lot in the constituency.
Absolutely.
How about in Parliament? The last time I heard you speak was, I think, during the debate on the Petroleum Revenue Management Bill. I haven't heard you since then.
No, and it's true. I've been occupied with our Congress because, you see, I feel that and I believe that until we have a considerable number of MPs in Parliament who can form a strong bloc, we cannot be very effective in Parliament. The point is not to get up and have your voice heard. The point is to push forward with policies that will benefit the average Ghanaian. We need more parliamentarians, and we can only do that if we have a strong, credible party led by sound, transparent leadership that will attract and rally for support.
But if the critical mass in Parliament, Samia, is so important, why do you want to leave Parliament?
I will never leave. I will not leave Parliament now. I cannot say never, of course, but not now. I'm standing, contesting in 2012. We need every single seat we can get. We hope to add more seats to the Jomoro seats. And because I've done enough work in our district, there's every indication that I can retain that seat. But we need to help other aspiring MPs who want to get in. And that cannot happen without a strong, appealing centre. We need a strong centre to help other MPs. There's a link between more members of Parliament and a stronger...
So let me see if I
centre.
understand you. You want to become chair of the party and at the same time retain your seat
Absolutely.
as member of Parliament.
Absolutely. And as I said, I can do it because I have no other business concern. I've devoted myself to the revival of our tradition. So of course it can be done. And then, you know, when, as I keep on saying, this is a drastic situation, so you need drastic measures. When you're holding one job and you cannot make ends meet, what do? You take a second and third job. Many of us, so-called leading members, will have to do more than one task, and we are capable of doing that. The situation requires it.
Some say the CPP lives on an image that's different from the reality. That in, I think 2004 perhaps, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, when you had the most number of seats in Parliament, it was because of a gentleman or a ladies' agreement with the NPP, and that really if the MPP was contesting in some of those constituencies, there was no way that the CPP could have won those seats. And even today, it is because so much effort was pumped into Jomoro. That's why Samia won, and that indeed the CPP as a party just thrives on a nice image, but in reality, you're not that strong a party.
Yeah, that would be very dangerous if that is the case. Now, I agree there's a lot of goodwill for our tradition, for the party, but that goodwill has not translated itself into votes. And this is why some of us say and are saying that we need a radically different approach.
What do you think is the problem? Why is it not translating into votes? Why are we seeing so many people at the Nkrumah Circle wave green party cards and, at some of your rallies, and it's not translating into votes?
On the ground, not much was done. We know that, and we have to change that. You see, I agree with you. Our reliance on other parties or other forces, that has cost us greatly. In fact, that is why some of us are urging for an independent-minded CPP. In Jomoro, I ran against the NDC and NPP. In fact, it was the first time in a decade that the CPP wins a seat challenging the both big parties. And that means there is room for improvement. The people are ready to believe in us if they gauge our sincerity. By all means, let me, at this point, just before we go on, let me emphasize that the Jomoro seat was won because there was goodwill towards the tradition, but also because we lived up to people's expectation by organizing very well on the ground, by going everywhere with our message. I had no support from national.
Really?
Yes, I had the support of some individuals, few individuals, some CPP.
Because the impression has been created that, the party thought Samia would be a good candidate, so the party lifted her and literally planted her and ran the campaign
Not
for
at
her,
all.
and then she won.
In fact, it was first suggested to me to run in Kia, in the central region.
That's the Commander Edna Iguafu Abrim
Indeed,
constituency.
but I insisted on going back home where I can connect with my people and my tradition to start with. So it wouldn't only be a political project, but it would be a homecoming. I believe that there is hope for our tradition, but provided we reform, and this is why I'm putting myself forward. We need people who can rally support. We need people around whom Nkrumahs can get together and rally.
And why can they get together and rally around Samia? Why? Just because you are the daughter of Osajifu?
I am the only member of parliament, for the party. I am also not always regarded in my personal capacity, but as a representation and a confirmation of a vision for our national economic independence that refuses to die. There is work that was interrupted. Our restructuring of our economy was interrupted, and there is a call, there's a need for us to continue it. So I'm not always regarded in my personal capacity. If I can be a source of inspiration, why not? Why shouldn't we use every asset we have? In fact, I wish that the CPP gurus had, most of them, had rallied around me and carried us for the benefits of the party.
Time is 42 minutes after 8 on the Super Morning Show. I've been talking to your brother about you, Sekou.
Yes.
And he's been telling me a few things about you. You want to hear it?
Of course.
I will share it with you and take your reaction. This is the Super Morning Show. If you have a question,
fellow freedom fighters, the enemy is imperialist.